welcome into the Blogger Bowl. Corporate Phil is making his return alongside Dan and myself. I don't even know what really to call this episode because we're past weeks, and December 22nd to 29th bowl games, or mid bowl games, whatever you want to call it. We're just here to talk some more bowl games. We're here to talk college football because it's what we love to do. Guys, how we doing? How's bowl season treating you guys so far?
So here's a microcosm of how bowl season has gone for me. My picks on the show last week. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm not betting these games. Like, these games are terrible. Like, why bet them?
I'm picking my spots here and there, but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm not betting all of them.
Yeah, so these games have been like my picks I gave out last week were terrible. I know they were terrible, but I did give out Western Kentucky, and in the process of like up to the end of the week, like up till yesterday, I was like, I think I'm going to take South Alabama. Like, that was just pure heart. Like, I like Western Kentucky. I like the aesthetic. I like the vibes. And I think South Alabama is the better team here, and they should be fired up for this. So I almost literally tweeted, gave out Western Kentucky on the show, flipping my pick. Didn't do it. I got whatever. And then one of really the surprising bowl game no-shows to me, like, you can certainly see like Florida's no-show in that bowl game, obvious. Like, that makes all the sense in the world. South Alabama, 10-win season, never won a bowl game, like their best season in school history. They just that
was surprising.
Nothing went well for them. Like, stopping Western Kentucky is hard. Like, Western Kentucky can score on anybody at that level, but like, they just had nothing in that game. So that's basically how it's been going for me. Phil, how we haven't talked to you in a few weeks. How is bowl season treating you?
Well, I transitioned out of FCS playoffs into bowl season again.
I can't believe I'm rooting for the Bison to win that game, but I'm like,
what?
So I thought I told you this. Like, FanDuel hung before the playoffs started, hung North Dakota State plus 1,200 to win the title.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, and again, that makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah. But I mean, looking at that, I've been paying attention to a lot. These like early bowl games, I'm generally of the mindset where I focus more on watching the FCS playoff games, and so South Dakota State just looks like a wagon.
They do.
And North Dakota State doesn't have the like elite quarterback that they've always had. And so, in this one, I kind of think South Dakota State rolls. So my biggest takeaway from bowl game, I'm just laughing at how big of a no-show Florida was, because just watching that game was pure comedy. So that was
all knew they were going to be a no-show, but to that extent,
to that extent with a first-year head coach,
it was. And we were like kind of high on Napier too, and I don't know what's like. How can you not get your team at like the sad field? Avoid the shutout.
Yeah, the sad field goal was the worst part.
You can't sad field goal in a bowl game when you're a first-year head coach.
Well, okay, you also then as a first-year head coach can't be shut out for the first time in like 20 years or whatever it was in the
almost history. 4. It's like 35. I think it was 87. It's been like a really, really long time.
You can't be that guy either. Yeah. So like he's between a rock and a hard place. You want a sad
field
goal? It's going to be the first shutout in 40 years.
I think we all laugh at that, and if we were in the same spot, we'd all be like, "Yep, I would probably kick that field goal too."
Yep, definitely.
That's kind of where I come down on that.
Have to.
Yeah. Real quick before we start, I was telling you guys about this. I was telling, for those of you watching us, telling the guys I was in an argument on Twitter from the BetSports account, which I shouldn't be doing, arguing with people, but nevertheless, and it was kind of trolling a little bit, but not super trolling on my part. So Jaden Daniels announced he's coming back to LSU next year.
Yeah.
And I said, and again, like trying to get people to interact with this tweet, but I don't necessarily think that it's super far off. Their entire offensive line is coming back next year. Kayshon Boutte's coming back. Their wide receiver core is really good. They just went to the SEC championship game in year one under Brian Kelly after like some pretty dicey starts. So I said you can make an argument that he should be the favorite for the Heisman Trophy next year. Now, understanding it should be Caleb Williams, but until people show that they're going to vote for someone 2 years in a row, he's probably not going to be, or he might be a co-favorite or whatever. Yeah. But I guess my question is like, right now, off the top of your head, how many guys would you say have a better chance of winning the Heisman Trophy next year than Jaden Daniels would if everything kind of holds and LSU doesn't have massive defections?
I mean, with a dual threat quarterback like that, especially in the amount of hype that LSU is going to get from a preseason perspective, he is going to be one of the 4 or 5 people that's featured as a Heisman favorite. Like, I think that's, as you mentioned, it's like they're in the SEC. They just made it the SEC championship game. and he looked pretty good. I mean, he didn't look, but he looked good this year. Like, and I think coming back year 2 of an offense in a system with everybody coming back, like that's not outlandish to say by any means.
He had 17 total touchdowns over their last 7 games. And that includes the Arkansas game where nobody did anything in that game.
I would put J.J. McCarthy's name in that conversation, but I also wouldn't say that I know. But, like, he's on a team that's been to the playoff now 2 years in a row, and Michigan loves it. Like, that's a team the media hypes up. So that's a player whose name will be in the preseason conversation. He'll be one of the favorites. Phil's Knowles, Jordan Travis, I believe, is back, right? He's a name that'll probably be up there preseason hype. But, like, yeah, Jaden Daniels is a name that with the program he plays for, with the success they had this year, with the help he's got coming back next year, and how strong he finished his season, yeah, that's absolutely a name that should be in the preseason
conversation. Do you know who's going to be in that conversation that I'm just going to be like, they're just going to do it just because?
Sean Clifford, is he going to find a way to come back?
No.
Cade Klubnik.
Klubnik.
So here's my thing. Okay,
or Drake May, I guess, would be the other one.
So here's my thing, right? I don't mind Cade Klubnik being one of the favorites going into the season. He
did play great against Carolina.
I understand. Like, I understand where you're coming from. I think if Clemson brings back Jeff Scott in some capacity, that certainly changes my opinion a little bit of their coaching staff. I understand it. I get it. Like, Clemson's going to be the best team in that league again, probably, with all due respect to Florida State. Like, they're probably going to be the best team in that league. They're going to have a chance to make the playoff. And that's kind of my argument there, too, is like, sure, I don't know that Alabama's going to be viewed higher than LSU next year, replacing their quarterback, replacing Will Anderson. And we're like, we can't do Alabama, they just replace players every year, because they didn't do it. Like, they didn't do it. We don't know what their offense is going to look like next year. So, of course, Georgia's going to be the gold standard in that league. But we've seen the SEC get 2 teams into the playoffs. So other names are like Michael Penix Jr., who, like, until Washington, like, voters don't vote for West Coast players other than USC players. Bo Nix, the same thing. Klubnik, Drake May, Quinn Ewers, like, McCarthy's interesting. The other name that you kind of have to think about is Blake Corum. Is he going to come back? Like, if Blake Corum comes back, he's certainly, like, up there.
Donovan Edwards has got a shot. I mean, like, Donovan Edwards is the man. Stepping
back, I think if Blake Corum hadn't gotten hurt and he had put up the numbers Donovan Edwards did over the Ohio State game and the Big Ten championship game, I think he would have ended up winning the Heisman Trophy. I think the voters wanted to find someone else to give it to.
I think so too.
And I don't think you could give it to Max Duggan over Caleb Williams, but you could conceivably give it to.
I agree.
To Blake Corum. So we'll see. Just food for thought. It's been on my mind for the last 20 minutes while I was trying to pay attention in a meeting. Nevertheless, we have bowl games to get. Into. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, holy shit! There's a lot of bowl games. I didn't realize there were that many bowl games. All right. So these are the bowl games from tonight through next Wednesday. We will start with the Armed Forces Bowl. Okay, I'm not going to put up the graphics because apparently I'm going to just cover Phil's head. We have the Armed Forces.
We don't need to see Phil.
We have the Armed Forces Bowl tonight, 7:30 p.m. It is Baylor. It is Air Force. It is Baylor minus 3.5. The total is 43.5. To set the stage with producer Dan's Give a Damn Index. By the way, I've decided I overestimated how much every team wanted to play in any bowl game. So I'm going to say Air Force is probably at about a 7. I'm going to put Baylor at a 0, and here's why. And this is kind of my argument for why I'm playing what I'm playing in this game. So Baylor's biggest rival is TCU. Like, it's not Texas, it's not Texas Tech. Like, Baylor's a prominent Baptist university. TCU, Texas Christian University, historically kind of on the same level prior to the last 10 years or so. So it's their biggest rival. TCU's in the playoff. Baylor is playing in the Armed Forces Bowl in TCU's stadium. They're playing a service academy, so they're going to get cut block for 3 hours. And the wind chill for tonight's game are supposed to be below 0. I have no idea why Baylor is going to be interested in playing in this game at all. So I'll start us off here for my pick in this one. Just give me the money line. Just give me Air Force money line, whatever. Play it, set it and forget it. I think, by the way, I don't know the number. And Phil, I'm sure Phil watched the show, but if you missed the show last week, to sum up what I started bowl season with last week, if you like an underdog, bet the money line. If you like a favorite, bet alt favorites. I think of the underdogs who have covered. I think 6 of them have won outright. Yeah. Including Matt gave out Eastern Michigan on Brown Bag Bets on Tuesday. They won outright.
Did you guys watch that game? That was awesome. It was
weird.
San Jose State looked like they were going to dominate. Then Eastern blocked the extra point and returned it for 2 to make it 13-2. Then they went down and scored. The game was over from that point.
They
rolled. It was such a perfect shitty bowl game.
So if you like an underdog, bet the money line. If you like a favorite, you can go back last week, go to Chris Felica's Twitter page. That's where I got all the stats from. So I'm rolling Air Force and the money line. I wrote down +4, and I'm just on the fly. I just said, fuck it, I'm taking the money line. Phil, glad to have you back, buddy. What are you taking here?
Yeah, no, so Baylor's lost, also coming on the heels of losing 3 games in a row, and Air Force is coming on the heels of winning 4 games in a row. And as a team that's lost 3 games in a row, in a very cold game against the Service Academy right before Christmas, when you have like a good, probably relaxing like Christmas break to go back to, versus Air Force, where again, you're at a Service Academy. It's not like you're kind of always on the grind. So I think just by nature, the Service Academies are going to be more up for these games because there is that like hype factor around them. It's also the Armed Forces Bowl, so they feel like they have to show up. Like that actually does mean something for a Service Academy to win kind of like their own bowl. So I'm taking the money line. It's +146 for Air Force, which again, I think that should pay out. So that's kind of my thought, where it's just, this is a complete lack of motivation bowl for Baylor.
Okay, I'm going to zig while everybody zags here. I'm going to go with Baylor. I think that a lot of the things you guys said make sense for most teams. I also think Dave Aranda is a great coach and kind of a low-key psychopath and can figure out a way to motivate just about anybody for any reason possible, and might take the we're playing in TCU Stadium, we're not going to embarrass ourselves thing as a spin zone the other way. My gut kind of says Air Force too, but also like I just this feels like a spot where it's not even necessarily fading you. It's honestly more so fading myself and my own original opinion. Mm-hmm. I think Dave Aranda's the guy that can actually go out and figure out a way to motivate this team, and they actually play well. I don't think he enjoys losing games. I don't think finishing with 4 straight losses would sit very well with him. And I think he wants to start next year off on the right path. So I'm going to take Baylor in this one.
Yeah, Baylor lost their defensive coordinator or fired him. I don't remember. And I think Aranda's calling the defensive play, so back to his roots on that one. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. from the cradle of college football, Shreveport, Louisiana, we have the Independence Bowl, where we have Louisiana taking on Houston. Houston, a 7-point favorite, the total 56.5. In the Give a Damn Index, I have Louisiana at a 4 and Houston at a 2. Like, I have no idea why anyone playing this game gives a shit. Phil, what do you have? What do you think? What's going to happen here?
So I'm like, hand up, haven't really watched much of the Raging Cajuns or Houston this year at all.
All good.
Yeah,
Houston has sweet helmets. They're white with the script across. They're fantastic.
But what I do know about both of them is that they score points. And so I think defenses just aren't going to care in this game. And so I think we're going to get a lot of points. So at 56.5 seems pretty low for the amount of points that both these teams have been putting up over the past few weeks. So I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and say just bet the over here.
All right. Matt?
Yeah, I have the same exact logic as Phil. I'm looking. I mean, you say these two teams' names, and I just can picture 45-42 in my head. Right. I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take defenses not really caring. It's Friday, December 23rd at 2 p.m. It's an afternoon game that I'm going to be finished up some work watching. Let's bet the points. Let's take the over. Let's root for some offense.
So Clayton Tune is going to play. Tank Dell, their best receiver. He is going pro, but he is going to play in the game, which is huge for their passing offense. The reason the total is so low, Ben Woolridge replaced Chandler Fields at quarterback for Louisiana during the season, but then he got hurt. So Fields is starting again, and he is not very good. Michael Jefferson opted out, so they're out without their best wide receiver. Their run game's solid, but like Houston can probably just load up against the run and beg for a bad quarterback to beat them. This is a risky proposition because I don't know how much Houston cares about this game. But I just think they're a lot better than Louisiana. Louisiana, man, one of my biggest regrets this year was not betting their regular season win total under, because they were favored to win the Sun Belt again, but like they lost their starting quarterback, they lost their coaching staff, and they had like a decently tough schedule. And it just seemed like and it was a pretty high win total. It was like 8.5 maybe. And I knew I should have bet the under, didn't, but I'm going to roll with Houston and lay the 7. The nightcap on Friday, the Gasparilla Bowl from, I believe this is the one that said this used to be the Bad Boy Mowers one. This is
now it's the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl.
Did this the Beef O'Brady's Bowl before that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have I done my every bowl game should have to have their entire history of like bowl sponsorship?
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So it should be like the Tostitos PlayStation Verbo Fiesta Bowl. It can't just be the Verbo Fiesta Bowl.
I'll be all in on that.
Anyway, this is the Gasparilla Bowl. This is Wake Forest and Missouri, 6:30 p.m. on Friday. Wake Forest, 2-point favorite, total 58.5. On the Give a Damn Index, I have Wake Forest at like a 5. Like I assume Wake Forest is probably like decently thrilled to play at a bowl game. Missouri, they I have them at a 3. I might have to downgrade them. They have 10 defensive players injured or in the transfer portal. Eli Drinkwitz was a big proponent of this. I don't know if you guys saw this, but did you see the waiver, the redshirt waiver?
Yeah.
No.
So like,
it was awesome.
There was a blanket waiver given out for bowl season that is going to allow any player who played in 4 games to play in their bowl game and maintain their redshirt status.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's going to help Missouri's. That's going to help Missouri out a little bit in this game. But man, they have nobody on defense. Sam Hartman and his swan song for that team. A.T. Perry also playing. I'm rolling with Wake in this one. Give me Wake and lay the 2. Matt, what do you got?
I'm thinking the same thing, and this is another probably alt spot for me with all those absences on defense, where I might go up to 6.5, and see what I can get on that. I think Sam Hartman goes out with a bang, and is Wake Forest swan song here.
Yeah, I think this is Sam Hartman's last game in a Wake uniform. I think he hits a transfer portal.
Yes.
Let's hope that he maintains a gold helmet next year.
That'd be nice. He'd look good in a gold helmet.
I think
we already know he does.
The Photoshops would Photoshop themselves, just saying. But I think this is a situation where his team will rally around him. It's not like a situation where they feel spurned by him. It's like, hey, he's been there for 13 years. He's given everything he has to that program. And I think, Dave Clawson also, it's like going to be more of a celebration. And so with all of the opt-outs, injuries, transfers, et cetera, from Mizzou, I like Sam Hartman to really go on top with those wide receivers. So I think I had it at Clemson or Wake 1.5. So that's where I'm sitting.
Basically pick Missouri's money line, because all 3 of us agree on Wake, and we're absolutely going to be wrong on this one. Missouri's going to shut them out.
The ultimate Sickos Bowl. This is Christmas Eve. This is the Hawaii Bowl. This is Middle Tennessee and San Diego State, 8 p.m. on Saturday. San Diego State is now a 6.5-point favorite. The total is 49 on the Give a Damn Index. I think Middle Tennessee is 7, San Diego State a 3. Like, a bunch of kids from Tennessee, I'm presuming most of the rosters from Tennessee are there about like, hey, man, it's a free trip to Hawaii. Let's go have some fun. San Diego kids are like, we play in San Diego. Like, Hawaii's cool and all, but like, it's not like we're getting out of like Murfreesboro, Tennessee to go. Like, we're getting out of San Diego. We're going from like perfection to somehow even more perfection if you're San Diego State. So Matt, what on earth would you play in this game?
I'm probably going to take the Middle Tennessee State money line, and just, it's going to be Christmas Eve in Hawaii. The NFL will have just wrapped up, and probably should take the the money line with the underdog and roll the dice there. I just can't get out of my head when Middle Tennessee State just rolled Miami in Miami this year, and that's the image I have stuck in my head, even though Miami just was terrible. But that's the image I have. That's what's in my brain. I'm going with Middle Tennessee State over. Brady Hoke's still at San Diego State, right?
Yeah.
Brady Hoke doesn't wear a headset as a head coach. I think that's a bad omen. We're going with Middle Tennessee State on the money line.
Bill?
So, Dan, I have the exact opposite reason that you have. So I wrote down San Diego State. My reason, it's a shorter flight for them, so a lot less traveling. They're going to be less mesmerized by the Hawaiian weather. Also, being outside in the heat when you're not used to it gets you really tired. So you're going from Tennessee and you're sitting in the Hawaiian heat and humidity. Like, that is tough. Also, Middle Tennessee State, do you think there's much sushi or good poke bowls right around where they are? Those boys are going to be loading up on sushi, loading up on poke bowls. They're going to be fish is going to be running around in their bellies. They're not going to want to play. They're going to want to.
Fish is light. It's light.
I wouldn't necessarily make the
It's not like they're going to Texas and going to the Salt Lick and eating a bunch of barbecue.
That's a good pull on your part, pulling out the Salt Lick.
Love the Salt Lick.
Oh man, so many stories about getting just absolutely shit hammered at the Salt Lick, and
I would bet.
Yeah. So Phil, if you're on, have you been to Austin?
Yes.
Have you been to the Salt Lick?
Yes.
Okay. So for those of you who are unaware, the Salt Lick is in a dry county, one of the rare dry counties in Texas. There are a few around. So if you want to drink alcohol at the Salt Lick, you have to bring your own. So the Texas Student Media Banquet every year was at the Salt Lick, and it was awesome. It'd be like $10 for us for like all you can eat barbecue at the Salt Lick. So we got they rented a school bus for us. We'd load up with coolers full of beer and then just go out to the Salt Lick and get shit faced and just drink beer, eat barbecue. the TV kids, we got into a fight with the Daily Text in the newspaper one year because we were playing flag football, and one of their guys was really drunk and threw a football at the head of one of the guys at the TV station. The guy at the TV station.
I love it. Digital media versus print media.
And then, of course, the yearbook kids were the ones who got them banned for a while because they got too rowdy. The yearbook kids are the ones you always have to keep an eye on. It's the quiet ones that they're always the ones you have to keep an eye on. Oh, yeah, the Hawaii Bowl. I don't care. These teams are terrible. San Diego State's
awesomely terrible
has been. Yeah, I mean, if it weren't if this were on Friday, I'd watch it. It's Christmas Eve. I'm not going to watch this game on Christmas Eve. San Diego State's offense has been better since firing their OC. They're up and down. Middle Tennessee's defense sucks, but they are top 30 in points per quality possession defense. I did look up some stats, guys. So I think they can keep a fairly inefficient San Diego State team from scoring a lot of points in this one. So yeah, give me the points in Middle Tennessee. I liked it a lot better when it was at 7. Maybe there is a 7 out there.
Go Blue Raiders.
One emotional thing for me. So when I was back in the day, I was an elementary school teacher. So I taught 5th grade in Compton. And this year, my first class of students are in college. And one of them happens to be a freshman wide receiver at San Diego State, Jacoby Kelly. So he was a 5th grader. So I taught him for 5th grade and 6th grade. Now he is a college freshman who is a 3-star wide receiver out of California. So shout out.
I hope he scores a touchdown.
Yeah, no, he has. I think he's redshirting this year, but with bowl games, hopefully he can get some action in.
I was literally gonna go look up his anytime touchdown odds if there are any out there for it.
I don't think we're gonna find many anytime touchdown odds for the Hawaii Bowl. But yeah, you probably
there are first touchdown odds for a lot of these games.
I guess you're right.
Once we get to the next one, once you guys are talking about this next one, I will look to see if we have some first touchdown odds for some of the earlier games. Because one of the bets, 2 games down on the list, I do want to play a player prop that I don't know if it's going to be hung, and it's definitely not up yet, but nevertheless. On Monday, so once you are detoxed from watching all of this great football on Christmas Eve in the NFL, a couple of really shitty games on Sunday in the NFL, and once you're trying to detox from alcohol and food and presents and Christmas and all that, we have just the methadone that you need to come down from that high. It is the Quick Lane Bowl in beautiful Detroit with New Mexico State and Bowling Green. When I first did our bowl game superlatives a few weeks ago, I said this is a game that I do think both of these teams are going to be very interested in playing. Bowling Green does not go to bowl games very often. New Mexico State, this is their second bowl game in like 60 years. I gave New Mexico State a 10. I gave Bowling Green an 8. Just speaking my truth here, you guys know I love New Mexico State. I've talked about them a few times on this show. I won the easiest bet I won all year was when they played Valparaiso, and the books hung New Mexico State minus 28, and they won by $1 million. But good Lord, these teams are fucking terrible. Echo ratio. So echo ratio is the percentage of the game your team controls in terms of quality possession. New Mexico State ranks 100th. Bowling Green ranks 108th. Diego Pavia got hurt against Valparaiso, so the market thinks he's out. Oh, by the way, Bowling Green minus 3.5, total 48.5. Market thinks he's out, but he says he's playing. Jerry Kill says he's playing. By the way, did you guys know that Jerry Kill, through everything I've talked about, did you guys know Jerry Kill was their coach?
Yeah, we talked about it earlier when he went back to Minnesota, remember? It was like week 1 when they played back there.
Right. In week 1. So, man, this game sucks. But I love New Mexico State. If Pavia plays, I'm playing the money line.
I think this is the worst bowl game of the year. I think it has to be.
Worst quality of team playing in it.
Yes,
might actually be fun because I do it's like worst quality bowl in terms of like talent, and maybe like best quality of bowl outside of the playoff in terms of how much both teams might actually care.
Correct. Man, I hate this game, so I'm going to go with the underdog money line here. I'm going to take New Mexico State. Bowling Green did win a nice game for me in Maction at Toledo and then help my underdogs and overs. That said, I watched a lot of their Maction games this year, and they were not at all impressive. They were not a very good football team. They barely beat Western Michigan at home. Western Michigan is one of the worst football teams I saw play this year. I'm going to roll with New Mexico State.
You guys are forgetting New Mexico State might be one of the hottest teams in the country over the past 2 weeks.
On fire. They are on fire.
Do you know what their average margin of victory has been in their last 3 victories?
Well, one of them was against Valpo.
Hold on.
Valpo by like 60.
It has been
like 45.
Average margin of victory over the past 3 wins has been 45. Now, again, one of them was Valpo. One of them was Lamar.
It was Liberty.
And one of them was Liberty with the team, with the coach who quit on them and is the scum of the earth, fake Christian human. That's a story for another day. Shout out Hugh Freeze, you scumbag. They also lost to their only Power 5 team in that stretch by 31 points. So with that said, I'm going Bowling Green -3.5 because
Sure.
I'm
Sure, why not? Oh, I love betting these bowl games. It's my favorite thing in the world.
All right, impromptu question for you tonight.
Wait, sorry. Before we do that, also, you just reminded me of the Jerry Kill Dilly Bar picture.
Dilly Bar?
Just the Dilly Bar picture.
Gotta love it. Blake Shapen over under 151.5 pass yards tonight against Air Force.
How windy is it supposed to be? So the wind chill is cold, but is it like 20? Is it like 20 mile an hour winds?
They're expecting gusts up to like 25 miles per hour. There's a whole thing about how the way that stadium is set up, that it gets like super windy in there. I don't know, but on DraftKings they do have player props. I'm now gonna literally. This is great radio, great television, whatever this is.
I'll take the over. We talked about the win before Oklahoma State, Texas too much, and then said that was going to affect everything, and it didn't. I'd take his over. Give me his over. He's going to throw. So I'm going all in on Baylor.
They have anytime touchdown props listed for that game tonight. They have player props listed for the games tomorrow. No anytime touchdown. So hopefully every day we'll get. Once we get close to actual kickoff, we'll get them.
That's when
I'll need you to drop that player's name in our DMs, Phil, so that way I can look on Saturday while I'm at Christmas Eve drunk watching that. All right, the Camellia Bowl on Tuesday. We now move to Tuesday. Tuesday's awesome. We start having bowl games at noon again on Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central Time. The Camellia Bowl. It's Georgia Southern. It's Buffalo. It's Georgia Southern, a 3.5-point favorite. The total 67. I give Georgia Southern a 6. I give Buffalo a 5. Just straight up. Here's the deal. Buffalo, a better run-stopping team than a pass-stopping team this year. Georgia Southern's defense has been really bad across the board. 114th in success rate, 97th in EPA per pass defense, 124th in EPA per rush defense. Here's the thing. Total's too high for my liking because the total is 67. That's a lot of points. But this is the Kyle Van Treese revenge game. That's why I gave Georgia Southern a 1-point bump. So if they list a Kyle Van Treese passing yards over, he played at Buffalo, now at Georgia Southern. If they list a passing total for him, that's my official play. Whatever it is, I'm taking the over. As it is, I kind of lean Georgia Southern 3.5.
I'm going to go Georgia Southern -3.5 in the under. That's more of a spike bet. I'm out on Buffalo. They let me down a couple times this year in some big spots in my action betting. Also, I think Georgia Southern's in a better conference. They're better tested. They played some better teams and beat App State. They played tough with Marshall, and we know how big of a powerhouse Marshall is. I think they've been tested, played some better teams. So I'm going to go Georgia Southern. Yeah, I'll take the under. I don't think Buffalo is going to score a ton. After that game, I saw them play against Akron at like 11 a.m. on a Friday. Very unimpressed by them.
But that was a fun game.
It was, but like they were down 19-0 to Akron or whatever the hell it was. And Akron's awful.
Yeah, and Buffalo, my thought here, like Buffalo is super streaky. So they started off 0-3 with capped off by a loss to my Holy Cross Crusaders. Took me under 30 minutes to say that. Nice. But they ripped off 5 in a row and then dropped 3 in a row. So quite streaky, but usually in this case, a W is followed by another W. So I'm taking Buffalo in this one just because why not?
There you go. I mean, none of this makes any sense. So who the hell?
No. Bowl games. Well, until we get to the bigger bowl games, this is all coin flip.
There is one bet coming up that I actually will play on the list today, and that's the only one I've been confident at all about. So you should definitely fade me on that one. But that's not this one. The next one up Tuesday. Good Lord. 3:15 p.m. on Tuesday, we have Memphis. We have Utah State in the First Responder Bowl. I believe this one is at the campus of SMU in Dallas. I put both teams at a 4. It probably should be like a 2 again. Yeah. Like a Tuesday in Dallas and not like at like a fancy stadium and like on SMU's campus. Like I guess Memphis, maybe some familiarity playing there.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone got a strong take? Anyone got any strong opinion?
I'm going to lean the under because I don't think either team is going there all much, and that's the only 7.5 is way too many points, but I also don't feel comfortable enough in Utah State to take them. I'm just going to take the under. It's like 60 something.
I thought this game was on Christmas Eve. So my initial strategy was fade Utah State because it's really tough for Mormons to concentrate right before Christmas because the coming of Jesus Christ.
So afterwards, you're still in the Christmas season.
But the problem is they're not going to be hungover because Mormons don't drink or anything. So, but maybe they're going to celebrate a little bit too hard, stay up a little too late at midnight mass. That all falls through. So I put Memphis minus 7.5. So I'm just sticking with that.
Sure.
Stupid theory.
I like it.
Did you guys know? I'm assuming this is probably the case at Utah State as well. But for what bowl game did BYU play? They played
I don't remember.
somebody and won, and they were an underdog against somebody. Regardless, I don't know.
SMU.
SMU.
Oh,
they
yeah,
beat 24-23.
They beat SMU. Did you know that BYU needs 2 planes to travel to games?
For their wives?
Yep. I'm not even joking.
I think you tweeted about that, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Yeah. So I wonder if Utah State it's the same thing. Memphis is just better. Utah State's not very good. Memphis, their team's intact. No real portal, no real transfer issues. Utah State, Cooper Legas at quarterback's not very good. Lost their top 2 running backs. I feel like they're going to get overwhelmed here, so I'm going to play Memphis. Shout out to Thor Nystrom, who's a friend of the Deep Dive. If you just Google him or go to Twitter and search, he's got a really good running list of opt-outs and injury situations and things for bowl games. So I think it's Fantasy Pros is who he works for. Don't quote me on that, but Thor Nystrom, again, friend of the Deep Dive. So check him out. And this is where I'm getting all this information. Super useful if you do want to bet this. Obviously, you need to be as up-to-date on injuries and portal situation as possible. 6:45 on Tuesday, we get a battle of Carolina superiority as we get Coastal Carolina and East Carolina in the Birmingham Bowl. I don't know why I paused there. Probably something in my throat. Why can't we just play this game in North Carolina or South Carolina? Like, why can't we go to, like, the border? They need to build a stadium on the border of North and South Carolina. Matt, you're muted.
Didn't realize that. Sorry. I was going to say, no, you can't do that. You have to play. You have to play the game as it lies, just like golf. Play the ball as it lies. Play the bowl game as it lies.
ECU 7.5-point favorite, 62 is the total. I have a pretty low give a damn index for both these teams. East Carolina 3, Coastal 2. Jamie Chadwell gone. Grayson McCall is gonna play in this game, which is weird. The last I saw, like it looks like Grayson McCall is gonna play, but like dude's coming off a foot injury and is out the door. Ugh, man, I'm
rolling Eastern.
I bet East Carolina. Also, their starting center is in the transfer portal. Their offensive line's horrendous. Like, I would not be playing in this game if I was Grayson. I understand the loyalty. I get it. Like, he built his name there, and he's going to move on to bigger and better things. But
your coach is gone too. Like, I honestly, there'll probably be some teammates too. Like, dude, you're gone. Like, what do you? Like, it doesn't seem like a Sam Hartman type.
Could be the first Hugh Freeze SEC curse hitting him because he's gonna end up at Auburn. So maybe this is Hugh Freeze somehow spreading his filth over to Grayson McCall already.
Here's the thing too, man. Like, you want your first bet for
oh boy.
You want your first bet for the 2023 season. I'll go on the record right now today, December 22nd, 2022. You want your first bet for the 2023 season? Whatever the Coastal Carolina regular season win total is next year, bet the under.
Yeah.
They're replacing Jamie Chadwell with Tim Beck. And if you ask Ohio State fans, if you ask Texas fans, if you ask NC State fans, like what they think of Tim Beck, they're going to be like, yeah, that guy sucks. Like, that guy's a bad offensive coordinator. Nebraska fans hated him too, and then they got stuck with Scott Frost. They're like, well, he wasn't so bad. But like, he's with like 3 different jobs where the fan bases were super happy that guy is gone. Like, I understand fans are irrational. I totally understand that. I get that. But at the same time, if you're thinking about hiring a coach away from another school, take the temperature of the fans at the school that they were at most recently and the last couple of ones they've been at. And if they all are just like, man, that guy's not a good coach, maybe you might want to think differently in that regard. He's brought some guys who are at Texas at the same time he was to be part of the coaching staff who aren't good coaches either. Like, well, one of them was okay. One of them was a disaster. Like, he brought an offensive line. He's bringing an offensive line coach with him who was the first offensive line coach under Tom Herman at Texas, who's awful. Like, this is as big a downgrade in coaching as there is at any job so far this offseason.
For a second, I thought you meant Tim Beckman, the old U of I coach. No, wait a minute. There is no chance.
No. This is Tim Beck.
The world head coach maybe in the history of college football.
Yeah, he was at Ohio State under Urban, went to Houston, or went to Texas. Like, he stinks. Anyway, All right.
Phil, who do you hate more, Urban Meyer or Hugh Freeze?
Man, that really got my brain.
Yeah, I know.
That's a tough one.
You don't have to answer now. Think on it. Answer at the end of the show. We'll come back.
Yeah, let me think on it. But it probably a line them both up behind each other.
Got to pick one.
They line up both behind each other, and a bullet goes through both.
Got to pick one.
In video games, in Call of Duty.
Getting dark here.
That got violent. All right. So we've advocated for the murder of 2 different coaches on the show now. Speaking of murder.
Yeah, but only one shot.
Yes.
Only one shot.
One shot kill. The nightcap on Tuesday, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, 10:15 p.m. from beautiful Chase Field. Is it still called Chase Field? Wherever the Arizona Diamondbacks play.
I think so.
Wherever the Arizona Diamondbacks play. The Guaranteed Rate Bowl. We have Wisconsin. We have Oklahoma State. It is a 3.5-point favorite. Wisconsin. The total is 43.
We have 2 real teams here. 2 Power 5.
We have real teams here, but not really. Nobody is playing. Spencer Sanders in the portal.
Graham Mertz.
Yeah,
who hasn't been terrible. Hand up, Graham Mertz hasn't been as bad. He hasn't been good.
Now he's going to Florida, where that
makes sense.
That's going to go
well. So nobody's
playing.
Spencer Sanders in the portal. Their top running back in the portal. 10 players from Oklahoma State are in the portal. You already brought up Graham Mertz. Braylon Allen is basically the only player on the Wisconsin team who hasn't left, hasn't opted out. Jim Leonard's his last game coaching for Wisconsin. I do think they are going to play motivated for him because, Wisconsin's entire offense, not the entire team, just their entire offense.
Is Fickle going to be on the sidelines, or is he going to be
I'm sure he'll be there in some capacity.
He'll be there, I'm sure, but Leonard's coaching, his last game, interim coach, but he's probably going to end up in the NFL. And again, I'm just praying Lincoln Riley doesn't get any ideas to try to bring him to USC. But yeah, 2 offenses that don't have anybody playing in them, a team who is very committed to playing defense and sending off their coach right. I have no idea why this total's in the 40s. None whatsoever. Give me the under all day. I actually would bet this.
Yeah, that's my thought too. And Wisconsin's, whoever their starting quarterback is going to be, has thrown under 10 passes this year, I think, in their career. I think they're just going to hand the ball off to Braylon Allen. I do like Wisconsin in this game simply because Oklahoma State's they lost 4 out of their last 5 and everyone is not there. And so I think there's also I think there's a lot of promise around the Wisconsin program by bringing in Fickle. And that does a lot for guys who are still there when you're heading into an offseason with a ton of optimism, right? And they also there is some motivation from a player perspective of, I'm only as good as my last tape that they're going to have on me. And so you think with Fickle, he brings in a system where he's going to try to evaluate guys based on this last game. So I think at least from an energy and a want to perspective, I do see Wisconsin showing up to this game. Is it going to be pretty? Or are they going to be electric? No, but I think they're going to
be terrible.
Harder than Oklahoma State.
Awesome. It's going to be a brutal offensive game other than Braylon Allen maybe breaking a couple runs here and there. I like Wisconsin in the under. Yeah, I think Wisconsin has a reason to be motivated. Everybody's gone from Oklahoma State. Spencer Sanders got better, but he still wasn't he still wasn't great. And now you're downgrading from him to Gunnar Gundy. Is he going to be the starter?
Gunnar Gundy or Garrett Rangel are the 2.
Who was the quarterback whose hands were shaking down 48?
That was Gunnar Gundy.
Yeah, I'm good. I think Wisconsin's defense is can be as good as Kansas State's. So I'm going to roll with Wisconsin pretty big here, and yeah, the under. I wouldn't be surprised to see them hold them to under 10 points.
So we move on to Wednesday. 2 p.m. is our first one, so we don't have a noon game. We do have 2 p.m. It is the Military Bowl. It is UCF and Duke. I put these 2 teams around a 5 or a 6 on the Give a Damn index because you don't want to disrespect the military, I guess. But let me see, where is it? Duke is a 3-point favorite. The total 62.5. John Rice Plumlee, not sure if he's going to play. He got hurt late in the season. We don't know what his situation is. Mikey Keene is already in the portal, which means Thomas Castellanos is an option unless he's hitting deep drives to left. I don't know much about Castellanos there. He's thrown 8 passes, and it would appear as if he's the guy. If Plumlee doesn't play, I'm going to play Duke. Otherwise,
I like Duke. I think with first-year head coach, I think with Elko is going to want to get them to play, and they've won this year. I think they've exceeded expectations. So I think they're in a situation. I think Elko is going to have a really solid defensive game plan for a UCF team, where if they don't have Plumlee, I think that's going to work out nicely for them. So I'm going with Duke in this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Duke, and I'm leaning towards the over too. I think they're going to put up quite a few points, and I don't think Duke's defense is depending on the quarterback situation, I might take another look at this. But like Duke's defense hasn't been fantastic. I do think Mike Elko's a good coach, but their defense has not been all that great this year, allowing close to 400 yards a game. But I like them. I think they just have a lot more motivation. Honestly, from a coaching standpoint, I'm not sure Gus Malzahn really has that much motivation in this one to throw together anything other than a half-ass game plan to really care about. So the give a shit index heavily favors Duke, in my opinion here.
I don't disagree with that assessment at all. 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, we have the Liberty Bowl. This one is Kansas and Arkansas. Arkansas 3-point favorite. The total is 69. Nice. Of course. So I've given out 2 10s on the Give a Damn index so far this bowl season. UConn, New Mexico State, and add our beloved Kansas Jayhawks to the list.
I was going to say, we give it an 11? Because I think they might be an 11.
I don't think they're as fired up as UConn is because, with all due respect to Memphis,
true, that's fair.
UConn at least got to go to the beach, whereas we're going to Memphis. We're going to hang out on Beale Street, which will be great for them. Also, probably not. No, I'm thinking of something else. Never mind. So here's the thing: Arkansas lost a couple of first-team all-conference guys. Center Ricky Stromberg, linebacker Drew Sanders, Jaden Hazelwood had their most catches, but he's out. They do have KJ Jefferson, Raheem Sanders, and Matt Landers, who is their big play wide receiver. I expect them to be able to score at will. Don't think Arkansas's defense is going to care. So they lost their defensive coordinator as well, Dave. He's going to UNLV. So I think Kansas is obviously going to want to play well. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just expecting some points, and with a total of 69, I got to go over.
Yeah,
Kansas money line.
I'm looking at overs, but I'm also looking at any KJ Jefferson prop bets. I think he's going to put up some points. I think I'm curious what his rushing total is going to be. I think if it sits around like 50 or 60, maybe that seemed too high. I don't know. I like him playing in this game against a Kansas defense that's not gonna be very good. I like points. This game is actually, I think this game should be fun to watch. I will say that. Like there will be some good like offensive wide receivers streaking wide open in this game, running backs running and that for me is kind of what bowl season should be. So this one should at least be pretty fun to watch, I guess.
I love Kansas money line and I love the over here. I think this could be like the Purdue Tennessee of last year where just teams scored nonstop.
So let me back up for a second real quick. The last 3 on this one, and then the next 2, we only have 2 more after this. On Wednesday, we finally get into some okay, these are going to be some kind of like interesting games. So this one should be a fun game. And then after that at 8 p.m., our first non-ESPN Family of Networks bowl game, we have the Holiday Bowl, 8 p.m. on Fox. Oregon, a 14.5-point favorite over North Carolina. The total is 73. Nobody is playing for North Carolina secondary, which for a bad defense, that's
rough.
It might be an improvement though. Like
maybe
it really can't get worse. That is a good point.
It all depends if they do the defense where it's with whatever down and distance it is, their corners line up 6 yards behind that and bail. It's like the classic UNC defense. I will say though, did you guys see the Dan Lanning video yesterday?
So I was a little point where like I was gonna tweet at Phil to put his phone down yesterday. Phil was a little tilted at recruiting at recruiting yesterday, and not a big fan of Dan Lanning right now.
As Phil said yesterday, he loves college football and he loves reality TV. And yesterday was the perfect combination of both. It was National Signing Day is the perfect combination of recruiting, college football, reality TV.
I embraced some of that chaos yesterday, and it played out pretty fun. But Dan Lanning at 10 p.m. in like a cigar lounge being like, just like, I'm like, that it just like screams like I have a racing stripe on my Nissan Altima, right?
And Bowen ended up at Oklahoma. Anyway.
Yeah, and then the guy that he was smoking the cigar over bailed on him. Again, like Dan Lanning, you're acting like you're a genius recruiter by smoking a cigar like you did a bunch of work. Like you simply just called Phil Knight.
And asked him for another check.
You wrote through a blank check. Also, your offensive coordinator is gone and you're coming in and your defense got worse this year. Like your defense they were supposed to be a really good defense this year and we're just like not very good. So I'm generally like Dan Lanning shouldn't be doing like a victory lap after this season right now. Even with that said, like North Carolina has no one. Their defense is terrible. Drake May, I respect the hell out of him for staying and turning down like millions of dollars to go other places for now. You never know if that will change, but But I mean, I like Drake May to do some things. Without Josh Downs, it's going to be tough. Who knows in this one? I'm curious to see just how bad North Carolina's defense can be here. Like it's going to be comical, which is a reason why you want to tune into this game, because there are going to be a lot of points, which is fun. I know Oregon's going to be without linebacker Sewell. He just declared for the draft, I think, during this. So again, points.
I'm going to take Oregon, probably the Oregon team total over and the over in the game. I think there's a lot of points. I think Oregon's going to score. Be around 44 and a half.
Something like that. So, okay. So if you know anything about the history of the Holiday Bowl, this is traditionally like one of the wackiest bowl games. I think I said it on the show a couple weeks ago. Mac Brown's, I think, 6th career Holiday Bowl. I don't care what the total is. Give me the over. Like, I don't care. I want to see points. So that's what I'm going to go with, points. You mentioned, I think Oregon's going to be down a couple of defensive guys in this game. It's a principal play. I got to play the over here. You brought it up, and it made me think of this, so I'll say this now. I'm just throwing out theories on this show. I already gave you my Jaden Daniels Heisman theory. I gave you my Coastal Carolina win total next year under theory. Here's my next one. I'm not sure there's a team that stands to benefit in the new era of college football potentially more than Oregon. Because if Oregon stays in the Pac-12, which is an if. Now, if they end up going to the Big Ten, then they're screwed. But here's the thing. It is very apparent that someone talked to Phil Knight and said, Uncle Phil, we need you to open the checkbook. And he did. And there's only one team in the Pac-12 that appears to be willing to play this game at the level that Oregon is playing it right now, and that's USC. And frankly, this is Oregon trying to catch up to what USC did last year in terms of all of that. But once USC goes to the Big Ten, Oregon becomes the team in the Pac-12 that is trying to play college football at the level that the big boys play it in terms of how they're spending their money in NIL and all of that kind of stuff. Secondly, when the playoff expands to 12 teams, the Pac-12 champion is going to get an automatic berth into the playoff every year. And then the top 4 seeds are going to be conference champions, which means they're basically just going to have to be in a debate with the bloodbath that's going to be the new Big 12 with no teams who are willing to play NIL at a level above what everyone else is. So basically, if Phil Knight is going to continue to pay a shitload of money in NIL, Oregon's going to have to get out of their own way. I get that. Dan Lanning's going to have to show that he can win at a consistent level. I get that. But if they're the one team that has not until this year, who didn't show any interest in NIL really before, who has shown some interest in NIL now, and with Nike behind them, and of the fact that they're basically poised to become Clemson in the matter of they're going to just be that much better than everyone else in their own conference if they want to be better.
And Dan, that last thing you said was you took the words out of my mouth. They're going to become Clemson West.
Yeah. And that's what I think. I think if we stay at 4, I don't think so, but I think just the expansion and all of that now, they might just take the money and go them in Oregon or them in Washington might be the next ones that go to the Big Ten. I get it. But Cal, Stanford, Arizona State can't get their shit together. The Deion thing, we've already talked about the Deion thing.
I know they just got Drew Pine. That's a pretty big pickup.
Nobody Colorado's going to play. With all due respect to Colorado, Deion can do whatever he wants, say what he wants to do. They don't have that kind of money. And I think that's the thing people don't realize. Do you know if they wanted to, in the entire D1, FBS, FCS, D2, D3, do you guys know what conference would dominate NIL if they actually gave a shit? The Ivy League. Because the Ivy League has people who have money.
Insane. Endowments are the endowments. I worked in the endowment office at Holy Cross, and we would look at the endowments of other colleges and universities, and it's like Harvard, Yale, Princeton. Those are like large corporations. They have full finance teams who are running these operations and have billions of dollars in assets. It's crazy.
Must be nice.
So I've got to double check my research on this. Yeah. So the New York Mets have spent $320 million, $380 million in free agency this year. Their payroll is going to be $800 million. Steve Cohen went to Penn. He's not the only rich guy. So my point in all of this is,
guess how large the Harvard assets under management for Harvard is. Guess.
Just tell me.
I have no idea.
$53.5 billion.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So there aren't a lot of like alumni out there who have the pull and there are going to be other like potential sugar daddies who have more money than Phil Knight, but they don't have the pull that Nike does. And if like Oregon wants to play this game, there's going to be a lot of people who can't play the game the way Oregon does. Now, a lot of it remains to be seen. And like Dan Lanning's not an Oregon guy. So the second that a big SEC job comes open, is he going to like, there's a lot. But I do think that like their ceiling raises considerably in the era of NIL and the era of the Pac-12 getting an automatic seat at the table. That's my only point there.
My slight rebuttal to that is like, are people going to like, I think there is going to be the initial draw to a lot of players to go to Oregon, but it is, I feel like in the NIL era, a lot of players do care about exposure and big time games and looking at outside of upfront money, kind of the ongoing large scale exposure and not playing on the West Coast at 11 p.m. and kind of going under the radar. So I'm curious how that plays out. Again, I think they should go to the Big Ten I don't think they shouldn't in my mind. I wish they would go to the Big Ten because it's just not going to be fun. The Pac-12 honestly should be relegated. They shouldn't be a Power 5 conference after USC leaves.
I mean,
Oregon, they're in the same boat as the ACC.
Well, like, yeah, I mean, their ceiling is higher than anyone in the Big 12. Their ceiling is higher than anyone, like most of the ACC. Like, once you get past Clemson, Miami, and Florida State, at least what Florida State and Miami should be, the ACC is kind of a joke, if we're being honest. Like, it is what it is.
I'm hot on Oregon, is all I'm saying.
I know you don't like Oregon. I understand it. I still stand by what I said.
Yeah,
and I maybe should have saved that for the end because like we still have one more bowl game. The last one on Wednesday night. God, this game is going to be so stupid. The Texas Bowl from NRG Stadium. They finally get some entertaining football at the home of the Houston Texans this year. Texas Tech, Ole Miss. Ole Miss a 3.5-point favorite. The total is 69.5. I'd imagine Tech in the year one under Joey McGuire, they're going to be a little fired up to play this game against an SEC team. Ole Miss, I'm struggling to figure out why they would even care about this. Ole Miss down their most experienced cornerback. Their pass defense wasn't great this year. Texas Tech has been wildly inconsistent in the passing game. Tyler Shuck is going to start. Joey McGuire has done weird things with his quarterback rotation this year. Donovan Smith is gone. So it's going to be him or Barons Morton. Ole Miss, though, a lot more talented. And I think you just give the rock to Quinshon Judkins and you watch Ole Miss win this game against a Texas Tech team who is going to go for every fourth down. You have two coaches who would love to go for it on fourth down. I mean, now that I'm kind of talking myself into it, I'm not going to bet it, but like the total 69.5, it's a lot of points. But like you could see a lot of short fields for offenses in this game.
Also, I
hate this game. I love it, but I hate betting it.
The kind of I'm lean into like Mike Leach. The Mike Leach over game is what I'm gonna try to lean into here, and I think there's just the ghost of Mike Leach wants points in this game, and so I'm going to the over 69 in this one because
I'm gonna take Texas Tech in the over too. I'm with you.
Yeah, come on, it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just betting on an SEC team, banking on an SEC team to show up for a bowl game. That's not a playoff game.
Happen very often.
It's risky. We'll get the overcorrection. Like I'm pretty sure whichever one South Carolina plays, and they'll care about because what's the name of Try Hard.
Dan.
I completely forgot they're playing.
Okay, Dan.
I swear that's very funny. I've completely forgot they're playing Notre Dame. I don't necessarily think they're going to win. I just think they're going to care. Like they strike me as like we want to play this. Like he is just like, I don't think he's phony. He doesn't come off as phony, but like there's something about Shane Beamer. But like, man, I don't know. Oh, my last thing. Okay, this is my last thing. I should have brought this up at the beginning of the show. Can we talk? I know because I want to talk about this, and so we're going to talk about this because we're a college football show, and this has nothing to do with betting. But you want to know what my biggest beef with this Dabo Swinney thing is?
That he's been sitting on that quote for over a year now.
I want to know how long
he hand wrote that in his office.
Yeah, he definitely was planning that, and that was a planned quote to try to get some publicity on signing day for Clemson signing a class that I don't think it was a top 10.
Can you imagine?
I think it was 10.
Yeah. I'm just refer to him as a Clemsoner these days. I mean, like, come on.
Oh God.
Like,
I thought of that one right now. That's like he thinks of those things. He was definitely like. I feel like he was just like sitting because I feel like he still reads the paper every morning. I feel like he was like sitting there reading the paper.
Hey, nothing wrong with reading the paper.
No, I know, but he's definitely not a digital guy. Let's be honest. He probably has like a like his phone clipped to his belt. He's a newspaper guy for sure. But I'm just like picturing him just being like, well, God damn it. God, like just like being so happy about that quote.
Dadgummit, Phil. It'd be dadgummit.
Oh yeah, dadgummit. It's like he's also one of those guys where it's just like he's shit talking all these NIL things as he's sitting on his like $8.5 million contract. I'm like, just like have a brain. Like just like think about how you look in that perspective. And like kids, I can't imagine wanting to play for just someone who's that much of a loser. Like just
Well,
I mean, you guys watched Brian Kelly win a lot of games at Notre Dame for a number of years, and I could never figure out why anybody would want to play for him either. But like, so but like, it's one thing if he came up with that off the cuff and it was just like folksy Dabo being Dabo.
No,
like,
that was very
clearly like had been sitting on that for a while, like you said, Matt. And
he started thinking about it from the day NIL started, became legal. And
he was like writing like, and I saw something yesterday like NIL to the cross. Like I saw some of like that stuff like. Well, like 8 months ago or something like that. And then the fact that it's like come full circle and now he's saying that stuff. I mean, I give people shit for being like fake Christians. I don't think he's like, I think it's true to him, that's the only reason why I don't have a hate.
I don't think he's a fake Christian.
Like he's his own dork. And it's like, for me, it was endearing. Like it was endearing as he was coming up, like the bring your own gut stuff. Like he has passion. He loves his players. Like I can't truly hate on him for being just a dork. Right. But at the same time, like this is just like, this is like a facepalm. This isn't as much hypocritical.
This is
like
a dork who's feeling himself a little too much.
Yeah, he just gives himself wedgies,
He's the mega church pastor of college football. I've said this for a long time. Like loves his own brand way too much. And like if you understand Dabo Swinney, I didn't think I was going to go this deep onto Dabo Swinney, but here we are. Like he's a guy who grew up with nothing. Like lived in the same apartment with his mom and through college. I think they shared a bed. Or lived in a 1-bedroom apartment all through college. Like they were dirt poor and like football and like faith got him to where he is today. Yeah. So I understand that like level of I believe in myself. I believe in my faith. That's what got me here. And I'm going to spread that gospel to some degree. But like, man, there's just like so much of him that is like so much of it is still phony to me. And like the presentation of all of it.
Yeah.
It's like he's like, and that's what it is. It's a lot of it is performative. I don't think he's like, I agree with you completely. Like he is a Christian. He is not like, there's no BS in that. It's just the presentation of it is totally like the righteous Clemstones.
Great show. Great show.
Nailed
if you
it.
haven't watched that one on HBO.
So on that note, do we have anything else we want to add to bowl games? We get to talk about some real ones next week.
Phil, will we get you again next week, you think? Too early to tell?
You should get me again next week because hopefully corporation's not listening, but
nobody tell.
No one tell corporate. But when you're in sales and your numbers already hit and nothing's happening before the end of the year, you just kind of hang out for like 4 days. So I'm just about to this afternoon hit the hangout phase. So
shout out Phil. Now we get to talk about college football. That's his reward. And answer the question, Hugh Freeze, Urban Meyer.
Okay, so I have thought about it.
I would never forget this.
I think I truly have to go with Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze, I think, is
interesting.
Truly, he's just like more outwardly diabolical, where I think Hugh Freeze doesn't realize. Like he, in his mind, he is like, I am truly a man of God and
whereas Urban Meyer is more like cerebral about it. He knows what he's doing.
I can almost like slightly respect that Urban knows what he's doing. Hugh Freeze is ambiguous to like the shitstorm that he is. There's some comedy in that, but I think maybe Hugh Freeze is more dangerous. If he got more power, he would like go crazy with it, where Urban, I think, would know how to teeter that line and be a little bit more of a politician, or Hugh Freeze. Go ahead, Dan.
So here's why I disagree with your assessment though. And I think you're on the right track, but I think you have it flipped as to why. Hugh Freeze, for the reasons you've outlined, will never have the kind of power that Urban Meyer has had at times throughout his career. Like Colorado State tanked their football program because they asked Urban Meyer who they should hire as their head coach, and they hired Steve Addazio. And after a year, they were like, well, holy shit, that was a stupid idea. And they fired him. There are still people who think that Urban Meyer, A, knows what he's doing, and B, is a good coach. And maybe he'll come back to college football someday, and maybe he'll be a good coach. But the last time we saw him coaching was an absolute disaster. This is relevant, even though we're not an NFL show. Like tonight, we have Trevor Lawrence, the number 1 pick, against Zach Wilson, the number 2 pick, in last year's game. And the New York Jets, for as long as most of us can remember, aside from a couple of years under Rex Ryan, have been an absolute joke of a franchise. And Zach Wilson got drafted into a better situation than Trevor Lawrence did because the Jacksonville Jaguars decided to give his rookie year to Urban Meyer.
Yeah, and look at him now, and it's like literally who was it? Someone in the Jaguars, or it might have been Lawrence himself.
It was one of the. I think it was a defensive back.
Was like,
I know who you're talking.
He doesn't have to deal with Urban Meyer this year.
Oh, yeah. It was like someone's like, "What's the difference?" I don't know if this is the same thing, but it was on Sunday. Someone's like, "What's the difference between this year coaching?" And the reporter couldn't even ask the question.
Lawrence just doesn't have to deal with Urban Meyer anymore this year, and I was just like, that. Just first off, watching him die there gave me pure bliss. And that's what I hope, that Auburn is just cursed. Like, I hope Auburn is cursed. Like, there's a couple teams on my cursed list. So Auburn officially cursed. Liberty is cursed for eternity, just because they're Liberty. And then obviously the Browns absolutely on my cursed list and hope they die as a franchise. So there's things like that where anywhere, any fan base, any organization, any network that is touching Urban Meyer or Hugh Freeze is on my cursed list.
Send us your cursed list, people.
Legitimately, my brain just went, wait, why the Cleveland Browns? For like the splittest of seconds.
Cursed for eternity. And they're already cursed. Like, it's like hopefully it's not like a double curse.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope that doesn't reverse the curse then.
Yeah.
Double jinx. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, you don't root for broken legs, but in certain situations, you kind of root for both broken legs.
Yeah, but then actually put
this has gotten off the rails.
And on that note, we will be back on Thursday next week, our last show of the new year. I got to circle back with him, but I might be just grabbing a few minutes with Chris Felica to talk some college football with him next week at some point. I sent him a message about I got to circle back with him just to kind of get his thoughts on some things. I haven't talked to him in a while. I thought it'd be fun to get him here on our channel. So we might do that. Might not. I don't know.
It's fun.
Just that'd be great.
Keep it super cash. But we'll be back next week to talk more about all these bowl games. I would fade all of my bets. If you were listening, just anything I said, go completely opposite it. Matt and Phil, though, are very smart, so follow their bets. And if we're all on the same side, definitely fade those for certain. Do that for sure. But nevertheless, we'll be back next week. For Matt, for Corporate Phil, I'm Dan. We will talk to you then.